responsibility. And those 10 important words that we talk about, if it is to be, it's up to me. If freedom is to be, it's up to my personal responsibility and no one else to live it. And what this means is that what was kind of interesting, the independent people, the Franklin and all those guys, Jefferson, they didn't say thou shalt. It wasn't a command, thou shalt pursue happiness. In fact, happiness is not a command. It didn't say life, liberty, and happiness. It said the pursuit of happiness. That's put the responsibility on Angelo's shoulders. If I'm going to be happy, I need to. But the problem with that is, if it were a commandment, then a lot of people would go to hell because they don't have the faintest idea of what happiness is all about. And so what I want to say is this: that here at the PLC, we look at happiness as something a little different. It's not dependent on the accumulation of stuff outside of our. It's an inner consciousness. And that happiness is pretty special. It's the consciousness of having the love energy experienced every moment of the day, the energy of love, grace, and gratitude. When we're in that place of consciousness, we're in the place of happiness. That's the pursuit. It's so simple, but yet so complex. And what that means is when I'm in that place where I'm looking out there and I'm looking out with love and grace, the anointed one, and with gratitude, I have all of a sudden got into that energy, that high dimension of all possibilities. I am one with the divine. I'm one with the creator of all things, and I'm ready to make my mark and to enjoy the freedom that I really should have. An experience, a story about this gal Mary worked in a company that was on the 7th floor, and she got into the elevator, and there were many of her coworkers with her, and she was happy. You've been around people like this. You can tell from her countenance that she was at peace, and she enjoyed the moment. She was really there, and it's so cool because it gravitates towards you. Well, on the elevator was Harold. And Harold was known as the company grunge. He was negative about everything. So Harold says to Mary, he says, well, what do you have to be happy about? And Mary says, I'm happy about this very moment. And he says, what's so special about this very moment? I have never lived this very moment, ever before. And I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to live it right here and right now. Isn't that cool? Let's clap for Mary. She's cool. Happiness does not depend on exterior things. In fact, it does not depend on any accumulation of anything. But it does depend on our reaction to the things of the world. How do we process the things of earth? But what it is actually, it's our realization that we can be all that we can be with the simple idea of bringing that love energy into my beingness and then to be unified and connected all the way with the Spirit itself. I like to talk about a woman, Zen master, So-So. Anybody know about Sono? Anybody hear about her? Okay, good, great. Well, she was very well known, and people came to her, and they had all kinds of problems, you know, physical problems, emotional problems, financial, those kinds of things. And she only had one mantra that she used, and it was this: thank you for everything. I have no complaints whatsoever. Isn't that awesome? Something as simple as that. Well, some people thought that was good. Others were disappointed. They expected some elaborate spiritual idea. But those, and what the records show is that those people who followed that very simple mantra had tremendous miraculous healings. And it's available to us anytime we want. Thank you for everything. I have no complaints whatsoever. This is telling the universe that everything that happens to us, everything we experience, comes from the energy of love. It's for our greater good. We look at things and we label them, and no, it's all good, and we say it's all God. And we can't be half pregnant. I've said this before. We can't say, well, some of it's good and some of it's God. No, it's all good and it's all God. Anyway, let's go on. Ralph Waldo Emerson made this statement. And what he said was this. He said, you know, every moment that we are anxious, angry, or distressed, we lose 160 seconds of happiness. It's pretty incredible. What a statement. What's the implication of that? Because we don't look at things as seconds and moments. It means that when we're in that consciousness of anxiety and anger and fear, we're totally disconnected with our greater good. And so we give up our freedom. We give up our eternal freedom. When we allow any conditions to take dominion over our lives, we get into that victim consciousness and we give our freedom away. A few years ago, I had an opportunity to listen to Wally Amos. How many of you know the founder? He's the founder of the famous Amos cookie company. Wally. But anyway, we went to this conference, and here's Wally. He's giving a talk. It's a motivational talk. And he said that, and everybody looked at him as being a very well-off, pretty guy. But he said, you know, I was distressed, I was anxious, I was experiencing a lot of financial difficulties, he said. And he said, I realized that the more I worried, the worse it got. And what he did, he was in that place that we call helplessness. It's the most glorious place to be. When we're at that place where I give up, I can't do it myself. There's no way I can take care of this. What we do, we release all of the constraints that we have, all of the negatives, all the perceptions of negative. We release our attachment to anything, and we're there naked before the Almighty. And it gives us the opportunity to just relax in a moment and allow Spirit to flow into our lives. And that happens every time. Because helplessness is the greatest consciousness I think we could ever have when we're in distress. We just get to that place where I let go, I let Spirit run my life. And so Wally did that. He said he went into that consciousness, and he said something amazing happened to him. He started dreaming about chocolate chip cookies. I said, I've never baked anything in my life. What's this all about? He said, this is stupid. What's happening here? Chocolate. But it persisted. He kept dreaming about chocolate chip cookies. So finally he said, my gosh, I'm going to go ahead and research this. So he started looking at different recipes, and he started playing with it and starting experimenting, and he decided, I'm going to come up with my own recipe. And he did. And so Spirit in his life birthed famous Amos's Cookie Factory. Isn't that cool? Clap for this guy. It's good. When we get into that place where we are helpless, it gives us the opportunity to open ourselves up to the greatest flow that we could possibly have. And it's the flow of infinite intelligence. It's the flow from a dimension of all possibilities. And what happened with Wally is he had two options. We have two options every day of our life. For every experience that we have just two options. And one option is this. I put love energy into the mix and realize that whatever it is a good thing for me. I'm open and receptive, and we're going to go for it. The other option is to worry and complain and be anxious about it. Rhonda Byrne came out with an awesome book called The Power. If you have an opportunity, I don't know if we have it in the bookstore. If not, let me know you want it, and I'll go get some. It's called The Power. What it says is, and you may agree with some of it, you may not agree with some of it, but what he says is that everything that happens to us that's good came because we loved something, that we loved it. That love brings good into our life. But then she says this, and of course my conditioned mind thought with this, that everything that's negative and bad was there because there was the lack of your love for something. Isn't that interesting? And so she said, now what we need to do, whenever we want to experience, we have the two choices. We can love or we can not love.